We are Switzerland in that debate. Now I'd like now to welcome to the show Mark McNichol. Mark has been involved in the Justice for Willie and McRae campaign. Very many people might know not a thing about the Willie and McRae campaign. So Mark, perhaps you could tell us about the campaign and how you first became involved with it.
So, so my first involvement, I'd never heard the name Willie McRae to start with. So my first involvement was when I was approached by an actor-producer by the name of Adam Robertson, who asked if I'd be interested in producing a stage play written by a Thurso playwright called George Gunn. And the play was fictional, a fictional account of the kind of Willie McRae story. So I'd never heard of the play up until that point. So I read the play, thought the play was amazing. I'm a fan of Adam, a fan of George. I agreed to produce the play. It was a fantastic success at the Edinburgh Fringe 2 years ago. We pretty much sold out like 27 shows. We had to put on more shows to cope with demand. Directed by Olivia MacArthur and an amazing team, Helen Mackay, Jimmy Chisholm, too many names to mention. So the show was a massive success in Fringe terms, but it also gave a lot of people like me an introduction to the name Willie McRae. And when I started to kind of do my own digging on the Willie McRae story, I was like, can this be true?
Who was he?
So he was a Glasgow lawyer, or he was from the Highlands originally, but he was working in Glasgow. He would be considered by many to be a thorn in the side of the Westminster establishment. He was an independence campaigner. He was SNP politician and senior party member. He had an amazing career in law and politics, and he was based in Glasgow. And the story that I heard was that an eyewitness had him being followed from West Nile Street in Glasgow on the Friday afternoon by Special Branch, and then turning up the next morning, shot in the head, and the official verdict was suicide. So obviously that in itself kind of is a bit suspicious. So I started to investigate it more, and like many people, I was concerned by the circumstances. Well, the weeks leading up to his death, in terms of break-ins at his office, break-ins at his home, heavy surveillance, and then on the Friday, if this was the case, then potentially the last people to see him alive were Special Branch. And then he turns up on the Saturday morning in a ditch, his car's come off the road, he's been shot in the head. There's a lot of questions about the distance of the gun from the car. Could he have shot himself in the head and then thrown the gun 200 yards away? And then there was questions relating to what happened when he got to Inverness and then Aberdeen Hospital. Died the following day. More questions about the car being taken away from the scene on the Saturday and then brought back on the Sunday.
How long ago was this?
1985.
Yeah.
So, we've had 30 years of this, it's like snowballed, it snowballed, and I was in a situation where I couldn't really separate fact from fiction, because you've got 30 years of Chinese whispers and, journalists taking stories and nitbits from various different places, and I kind of didn't know what to believe. So I decided that I just got a sense that at the end of the Fringe, yes, the show was a great experience and it was massively successful, but after that stage production, I felt that if I just moved on to the next project, that would have been it for another 30 years. That way. I mean, I'm nothing special, I'm no big shakes, but sometimes I think in life you just get a sense that this is my job, because no one else is going to do it.
So how many people are involved in the campaign with you? I mean, it's grown arms and legs as it's gone along.
So after the stage production, I was rejected by the Scottish Parliament petitions office because I wanted to lodge a petition to have a public inquiry. So the Parliament reaction was that the public inquiry is not the appropriate vehicle for the investigation into the death of an individual. That's a fatal accident inquiry. So I set up an online petition, collected, I think, in the region of 13,000 signatures, handed those signatures to the Crown Office, asking for a fatal accident inquiry, and the Crown Office said no. So at that point, again, this sense of, do we walk away or do we keep going with it? And I didn't want to walk away. And in terms of how many, there was 13,000 of us, basically didn't want to walk away. And a kind of, a small group emerged from the 13,000 petition signers who stepped up with, in terms of their time. So we had maybe a kind of small steering committee of maybe 10 or 15 people. I had a background in crowdfunding stage productions, so the Willie McRae inspired play would not have gone to the Fringe had it not been for the crowdfunding that we did, such as the landscape within the arts when it comes to funding. Obviously it's very difficult to get money to make things happen. So I think round about that time, the people were taking on Alistair Carmichael, and I was very inspired by what they were doing, and I thought, wow, there's an example of citizens challenging the establishment using something that previously I can only associated with creative projects. So I thought the idea of putting together crowdfunding and
this was a crowdfunding bid to try and strip Alistair Carmichael of his parliamentary seat, really, on the grounds that he had lied over the supposed memo, which Frenchgate memo, indeed. So
the idea of using crowdfunding to challenge the establishment was something I hadn't really thought of prior to that. A group of us agreed that that's the way we would go. So we set up the which camera is it, that one? www.justiceforwillie.com website. We got a brilliant Scottish designer, James Belkovich, to do as a kind of bespoke logo for the campaign, and we got the support of some manufacturers, and we started putting branded t-shirts and whiskey glasses and decanters and whatnot on the website. Massively, it was great. People were very supportive and started to crowdfund what we were trying to achieve in terms of moving forward after being rejected by the Crown Office for a fatal accident inquiry. And basically what we were saying was we were looking to raise funds to move things forward.
Because opinion is... Sorry.
What did you spend the money on?
So we haven't spent all of it. Basically, we knew that whatever way we were going to go, we would need a war chest. Yeah. We took legal advice because we thought legal would be the way to go, like the people against Alistair Carmichael. But we were advised by our solicitor and a QC, bizarrely, that the only vehicle open to us to challenge the Lord Advocate and the Crown Office over a refusal to hold a fatal accident inquiry is something called a judicial review. And we were told that as a campaign we could be looking at, it was very difficult to even estimate a figure how much that could cost, but let's pin the tail on the donkey around about the 50k mark. And also, if we lost, then that would double because we would pay their side as well. But if we won, the QC and the solicitor said to us, even in the event of a successful decision from a court, the Crown Office could not be forced to hold a fatal accident inquiry, which meant, as far as we were concerned, because obviously
there's no point, surely.
Exactly. So more, a lot more discussions, and then we got to, well, we're going to have our own inquiry. And
I'm wondering where, because a lot of people who do know the Willie McRae story, think it's fair to say opinion is divided in it. I mean, in terms of the SNP, Mike, where does he sit within SNP world currently?
Yeah, I think opinion is divided in the SNP. I mean, from my own point of view, I don't think there's any doubt that he was a person of interest to the security services because of some of the work he was doing with some of the issues around nuclear waste and so on. But that doesn't necessarily mean that his death was connected to that. You know, I mean, I don't believe he was murdered. That doesn't mean I know that he wasn't. But I don't actively believe that. I'm not sure what happened. I didn't know him myself because it was kind of before my time, but people who did know him have said that they think it is plausible that he took his own life because of various personal issues in his life. And possibly they feel if he was under surveillance, that might just have added to those pressures. So, you know, I don't know what happened. I think that's probably the position of most people in the SNP, although there will be some who strongly believe he was murdered, some who strongly believe he took his own life. I think it's useful if we get a proper investigation.
Well, we're not.
That's where you're coming
yeah,
from.
well, basically we're not getting one. You know, that's where we as a campaign came in, because it was obvious that as far as the Crown Office was concerned, I mean, they actually told the media, I think it was 2 or 3 days before our petition was handed in, that there wasn't going to be a fatal accident inquiry. So we were still collecting signatures while they were telling the media we weren't getting one. So we decided we were going to take on a private investigator, and we were going to start the process of having our own inquiry to try and separate fact from fiction. So we were very lucky in that we got a couple of retired detectives with maybe 50, 60 years combined experience between them. One of them, when he retired, he was a detective chief inspector, and they've both been involved in a lot of serious investigations during their careers. And we basically, as a campaign, said to them, okay, we want you just to treat this like you would have when you were in the job, and report back to us with your findings, just like we were the Crown Office or the Procurator Fiscal or your superiors. So they, now from my point of view, from the outset, I've never stated an opinion on whether it was suicide or homicide, because I don't see how anyone can. I mean, you said yourself there, you don't think it was murder, but you don't know why. Yeah. It's just a hunch type thing. So from my point of view, I can't say suicide or homicide until I see some kind of facts or evidence, and we've got 30 years worth of speculation and theories, and we don't really know what the facts are. So what I think, or what I hope is going to happen after our investigation has been concluded. Now, incidentally, these detectives identified 25 witnesses who were of interest to them, some of whom had never been spoken to by journalists or by police. And we've been getting regular updates from the detectives, like our kind of steering committee.
When do you expect them to complete their investigation?
I don't have a date, and we're not hassling them. We're just letting them go on with it. But they're making fantastic progress, because at the last meeting, they told us that of the 25 witnesses, they had spoken to 15. So they've been making great progress. But from me, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 1 is suicide and 10 is homicide, then my worst case scenario is it rocks up around about 5. I think it may be unrealistic for us to expect to get a 1 or a 10. But interestingly, the DCI, he said he was the first person to say this to me. He said, "Listen, it's not a fatal accident inquiry that you actually want. If we uncover any evidence that supports the murder theory, then it's a murder inquiry that we're asking for. It's not a fatal accident inquiry." So at the end of the investigation, then what I think is going to happen is, if it's between number 1 and number 4, that means that we have been unable to undermine the official suicide verdict, and on that basis, everything that we've done and everything that the investigators have brought together, my hope is it will be made available to the public via the justiceforwillie.com website. If we rock up anywhere between number 6 and number 10, then 13,000 of us are coming after the Crown Office asking for a murder inquiry. And in view of the public interest combined with the media love affair with the Willie McRae story over the last 30 years, I would suggest that it's going to be very difficult for the Crown Office to say no.
When you got involved with this, were you prepared for it to play the part in your life that it clearly now does?
No.
And what was it that just
Because I think it's...
did that?
I thought, well, you know, I mean, I don't want to live in a society where the security services are murdering citizens. Now, as I said, I'm not saying that's what's happened, but what I'm saying is if they were following him from West Nile Street on the Friday afternoon and he was found the following day, then there are serious questions need to be answered. Also, I mean, we've got a lot of really high-profile supporters attached to the campaign, and one of them is John Finucane. You know, so anybody who is unsure about whether or not the British state is capable of something like that, if they're looking for a precedent, they just need to put the name Pat Finucane into the internet, because I mean, David Cameron apologised in the House of Commons for the role that the British state played in his murder. You know, so it's not like precedents haven't been set. But from my point of view, I feel that there's a lot of stuff being attached to Willie McRae, so there's a lot of discourse and there's a lot of baggage, and it's turned into this big monster. It's like a snowball that's been going for 30 years, and a lot of it is anti-establishment, a lot of it is independence, and for me, you know, it doesn't matter what Willie McRae's politics were, regardless whether he's independence or he's pro-union. If I think it's important that if there's a shred of truth to what happened round about his death, then the public deserve answers.
Does the writer in you want to turn this part of the journey into a play or a film or a...
Well, Ian Rankin beat me to it on the novel set. He wrote a brilliant book called The Impossible Dead, and Ian Rankin's been supportive of the campaign as well.
But I mean, since then, the journey that you've gone on since launching the campaign to the end, when it comes to whatever end it comes to, that would make a cracking story to tell.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, I've been writing full time for 7 years now, and I started off with novels and stage plays, and my current focus is screen. So I've spent the last couple of years kind of working in TV and film projects. I can't speak for every writer out there, but certainly from my point of view, I have got a backlog of ideas. But what I don't have much of is cash and finance and funding, you know.
And time.
Yeah, but I think it would make, obviously, an amazing story, which would be helped if we could get a bit closer to the truth, obviously.
Sure.
Well, we've been waiting 30 years, so hopefully we are now closer to it than we have been for some time. So we wait with bated breath to find out what happens. Mark, thanks very much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So we've come to the end.
We have
again.
indeed.
It's flown by.
Past, absolutely.
We hope you've enjoyed it just as much as we have. We're going to finish off today with some music from Emma again. She was playing the fiddle for us earlier, but she's also a fantastic harp player. So she's going to play for us Caledonia, I believe.
I believe that's true, although I think, in the interest of accuracy, I think that might be a class act she's playing.
Ah.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes!
That's
Well, thank you. Yes, my musical background, all those years playing the cello, really were not for nothing.
Well, Emma's going to play us out, so before she does, we'd like to say thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to all of our guests.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you for staying with us, Mary. Thank you to Mark and David and Claire, to Emma and to Ross. And hopefully you'll join us next week again
Same
for
time, same place.
Same time, same place for Next Full Scottish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I should become a stranger, you know it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. I've moved and I've kept on moving. I've proved the points that I needed proving. I lost the friends that I needed losing, and found others on the way. I've tried and kept on trying. Stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. I've travelled hard with conscience flying, somewhere with the wind. So let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, you know it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Now I'm sitting here before the fire, the empty room, the forest choir. The flames they couldn't get much higher, they've withered, now they've gone. But I'm steady thinking, my way's clear, and I know what I will do tomorrow. When hands are shaken and kisses flow, then I will disappear. So let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, you know it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Caledonia's been everything